Bill O'Reilly once again firing back at claims he exaggerated his experience as a war correspondent, this time taking on his former colleagues at CBS. Over the weekend, O'Reilly called into media buzz, offering his remembrances of covering the Falklands War in Argentina, while a former CBS News colleague, Eric Enberg, disputed O'Reilly's reporting during an appearance on CNN's Reliable Sources. We've put together the back and forth.
I left the hotel. Engberg was still in the hotel, the Sheraton. I came back, running back with video for the Rather broadcast that night. Engberg was in the hotel. So I don't know if he was even there. And I'd like everybody to ask him, were you there?
Okay.
Because his reputation, his nickname was Room Service Eric.
Nobody stayed in their hotel room because they were afraid. We were all working, and we saw what was a moderate-sized riot. Nobody attacked the soldiers. Nobody attacked the police.
And you have people injured and hurt, and you're in the middle of that. That's the definition.
I did not see that happen. I didn't see anything like that happen. I didn't hear any gunfire. Not only did I not hear any gunfire, as I say, I didn't hear any sirens.
So let's talk about this. I'm joined by Robert Thompson. He's the director of Syracuse University's Media Studies Center. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. So O'Reilly's defense, he says he's being savaged by left-wingers. If that's all it is, why is he spending yet another night tonight defending himself?
Well, in some ways, this is what Bill O'Reilly does. And in some ways, this is what the Fox network does. As long as the people that are accusing Bill O'Reilly remain Mother Jones, former CBS colleagues, former New York Times writers, then he simply goes on the offensive with all guns blazing. This is part of a vast right-wing conspiracy to attack a good American Bill O'Reilly who's trying to give us the fair and balanced report of what really happened. And in an odd sort of way, so far, I think ironically enough, this is played in Bill O'Reilly's favor. Now, that could change. If it turns out that all of these stories about having an M16 leveled at his face and people he dragged to safety, if we can prove that those things aren't true, then this may begin to change. Or if soldiers and other people outside of the mainstream media begin to go after the accuracy of his statements, then it could change. But so far, this is a strategy. Bill O'Reilly is going out simply saying, this is business as usual. Mother Jones, CBS, CNN, they want to discredit me, and they'll attack me with whatever they've got.
Yeah, but look, Robert, Bill O'Reilly's not a journalist. He's an opinion guy. He makes no bones about that. So does it really matter if he embellished?
Well, I think it matters, but you're right. There are what Brian Williams and Bill O'Reilly, two different sets of standards. Standards of NBC News and the standards of the O'Reilly factor are completely different. They are completely different acts. And you're right, Bill O'Reilly is an opinion person. His whole idea is to shoot from the hip, to sling all this stuff out. But in the end, I think, people do get uncomfortable if they think you're actually making stuff up. But if he can keep the 2 million people in his fan base, which make him the #1 cable news show and has been for a long time, if he can keep them in his corner, he's going to be fine, even if all the rest of the people don't believe a word he says, because more people don't believe him than do believe him, but that's already been the case.
Okay, so Fox News just came out and gave their full support of Bill O'Reilly, so that's very nice of Fox News. Surprise. I wanted to ask you about Brian Stelter, because he's come under attack. He's no left-wing zealot, let's face it. If he covered Brian Williams, doesn't he have the responsibility to cover Bill O'Reilly? He's like our senior media correspondent. That's his job.
Yes, he does, and I get a kick out of hearing all of these reports from, to listen to O'Reilly, I should be calling him Comrade Stelter. I mean, it's this whole idea of being this left-wing zealot. Brian Stelter has been, I think, kind of a yeoman reporter of media for a long time, and yes, he went after Brian Williams, he goes after Bill O'Reilly, and I shouldn't even use the words go after. He and I think everybody else with responsibility is trying to get to the bottom of these stories. In the end, I think the good thing that comes from this is that all kinds of journalists and soldiers and celebrities have probably been puffing up their lives in public for a long time. Now, in the age of all of this digital media, you simply can't get away with it anymore. And maybe in the end, that's a good thing. Maybe if all of us think about the story we're telling. And I have to say, since the Brian Williams story, I tell stories a lot different than I used to. Because the way I used to do it probably tended to be a little puffed up. That's how we did things.
An honest man. Professor Robert Thompson, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Still to come in the newsroom.